Title: Ashes of the Blood Moon. Genre: Dark Fantasy Romance. Chapter 1. The Mark of Night. The scent of burnt jasmine curled through the midnight air, heavy and intoxicating. In the heart of the duskwood forest, under a blood-red moon, Seraphine stood barefoot in a circle of ash and salt. Her raven black hair floated around her like smoke, and her violet eyes glowed with unholy light. Tonight, she wasn't summoning a spirit or a whispering shade. Tonight, she called a prince of the underrealm. As her chant deepened, the shadows thickened. The earth split, and fire licked the circle's edges. From within the fissure rose a figure draped in smoke and lust, tall, horned, with eyes like molten gold and a smile that promised sin. Well, he drawled, his voice a velvet caress. It's not often a mortal dares call me. What is it you seek, little witch? Seraphine stepped forward, lips parting, voice sultry and unwavering. Power, pleasure, and revenge. The demon's grin widened. You'll have all three, if you can handle what comes with them. He stepped into the circle. The air sizzled where his skin brushed hers. A pact sealed in fire and desire. And the moment their lips met, the forest burned. Chapter 2. Emberbound. The flames subsided, leaving scorched earth and silence. Seraphine's breath came in shallow gasps as she stared into Malachai's eyes. The pact shimmered between them, a thread of molten light, coiling like a living serpent from her chest to his. You're marked now, he said, brushing a clawed finger against her collarbone. The spot shimmered, revealing a sigil, a crescent moon devoured by a serpent. No other magic will touch you unless I allow it. I didn't summon you to become your pet, she growled. His smile turned feral. Oh no, witchling, you summoned me to become something far worse. Seraphine knelt beside the ashes of her circle, drawing symbols with her fingertip. Arcane energy pulsed with each stroke. She was preparing a gate, one that would take them to the ruins of her old coven, where a sacred relic still lay buried beneath the charred remains. The ground trembled. A presence brushed her senses. Not Malachai. Something else. Stay alert, she warned, rising to her feet. They found us. A blade of light sliced through the trees, followed by the thunder of hoofbeats. Holy knights, clad in armor etched with sunbursts, charged forward. At their head rode Sir Gideon Viral, sword raised and eyes alight with zealous fury. The witch and her demon. Purge them. Malachai stepped forward, wings unfurling in a blaze of fire. Finally, he purred, some fun. Seraphine whispered a word, and black lightning arced from her fingers. The first knight screamed, armor melting from his bones. Another reached her, sword poised, only to be incinerated by a wave of hellfire. Gideon dismounted, undeterred. His blade glowed with celestial fire. You will fall, Seraphine. Your soul will not escape judgment. She raised her hands, magic swirling. Come and claim it, then. As they clashed, magic and steel ignited the forest anew. And through the chaos, the bond between witch and demon pulsed with dark promise, deepening with every heartbeat. Chapter 3. Relic of the Flame. The battle had scorched the forest to smoldering embers. Seraphine stood over Gideon's unconscious form, his once bright armor blackened and cracked. The others had fled or died screaming in holy fire. Malachai licked a smear of blood from his thumb. You surprise me, witchling. You fight like a hellborn. I was forged in fire, she said, stepping away from the battlefield. And I'm not done yet. She led him deeper into the woods, toward the ruins of her former coven. The place was haunted by memories. Sisters turned to ash, laughter silenced in flame. But somewhere beneath the blackened earth lay the Emberheart, a relic of untamed power, protected by blood wards and wrathful spirits. They reached the clearing by moonrise. Crumbled stone and burnt sigils marked where the temple once stood. Seraphine knelt and pressed her palm to the earth. Blood for blood, she whispered. Her palm split open, and her blood sank into the soil. The earth responded. A fiery glow pulsed beneath the roots. Bones shifted. The spirits of her coven rose as shadows, eyes burning, whispering secrets lost to time. Only the bound may take the Emberheart, one spirit rasped. Seraphine nodded. I am bound. Malachai stepped beside her, his aura flaring. The spirits recoiled, wary. Is he your anchor? They asked. She looked up at Malachai. His expression was unreadable. He is my weapon, she said. And my shield. The spirits relented. The earth split again, not in violence, but in invitation. Seraphine reached into the fissure and drew out a heart-shaped crystal, pulsing like a dying star. The Ember Heart. She held it aloft, magic surging through her. Her skin glowed, eyes blazing. The bond with Malachai twisted tighter, feeding on the artifact's power. Far away, in the catacombs beneath the Order's stronghold, a bell began to toll. The ancient wards had been broken. And war had truly begun. Chapter 4. The Devil's Whisper. The Ember Heart pulsed in Seraphine's palm like a second heartbeat. She could feel its rhythm syncing with her own, thrumming through her blood, coaxing power from the depths of her soul. The whispers of her fallen sisters had faded, but something else remained, something deeper. Hungrier. Malachai watched her with a gaze like molten gold, his wings folded behind him, dark as midnight. You've awakened it, he said softly, almost reverently. Seraphine nodded, her voice low. It wants more. He stepped toward her, slowly, deliberately. Power always does. The air between them buzzed. Her skin still crackled with magic, and she was painfully aware of his nearness. Of the way his shirt clung to his chest, the way the soft glow of the Ember Heart lit the sharp lines of his face. He looked less like a monster now, and more like a prince carved from dusk and desire. Is it the relic talking now? He murmured, brushing her cheek with the back of his fingers. Or is it you who wants more? She tilted her chin up, challenging. Does it matter? His smile was all heat and shadows. Not to me. Their lips met, slow at first, then deeper, fiercer, like fire meeting fire. She tasted brimstone and something darker, older. His kiss wasn't just hunger, it was possession. Worship. And she wanted to be consumed. When they finally pulled apart, she was breathless, trembling with power and something too raw to name. We can't stay here, she whispered. The Order will come. They always do. They will find nothing but ruin, Malachai said, turning toward the blackened sky. And when they do, they'll know the witch they feared is no longer alone. Seraphine's eyes flashed. Let them come. Behind them, the Ember Heart began to shimmer with a deeper, redder light. And somewhere far beyond, in the citadel of the Order, a mirror cracked down its center. A sign. A warning. The prophecy had been set in motion. The Order of Viral. Once a sacred brotherhood of light, the Order of Viral was founded centuries ago by High Inquisitor Viral after a cataclysmic war between witches and humans. Cloaked in holy armor and divine magic, the Order was created to eradicate dark magic and cleanse the realms of all infernal influence. They worship Solon, the god of light and judgment, and wield sanctified relics believed to burn away corruption. But time has twisted the Order. What began as guardians of purity has become a machine of persecution, burning witches, binding seers, and hunting any who tap into power beyond their control. The Order is ruled now by a triumvirate of cardinals and enforced by warrior priests known as Sunsworn Knights, like Sir Gideon. They believe Seraphine is a heretic and a threat, not only because she escaped their fire, but because she carries a bloodline that ties her to an ancient, unfulfilled prophecy. The prophecy of ash and eclipse. The prophecy was discovered in a forgotten temple of the old gods, etched into obsidian walls and written in both angelic and demonic tongues. It reads, when the moon bleeds and the flame-bound heart awakens, a witch born of ash and a prince forged of lust shall rise. Bound in desire, crowned in ruin, their union shall unmake the sun. The Order interprets this prophecy as the end of their dominion. They fear that if the witch and demon bond fully, through power, magic, and love, the veil between realms will break, unleashing chaos and the fall of divine law. What they don't realize is that the prophecy is not about destruction, but balance. Seraphine, through her cursed bloodline, is descended from Nyxara, a forgotten goddess of twilight, neither holy light nor dark. And Malachai, once a prince of wrath, was prophesied to become the heart's anchor, a being capable of love, and therefore redemption. Together, they could end the war between realms, but not without tearing down the old powers that rule them both. Chapter 5. The Sun's Wrath. In the shadow of the Order's towering citadel, the triumvirate gathered in their hallowed chamber, an ornate sanctum high above the city, where the air shimmered with divine light. The room was a sanctuary, bathed in the golden radiance of Solon's sacred sun. It was here that the most crucial decisions were made, where every whisper of darkness was cleansed with purity. But today, an unsettling darkness lingered. Cardinal Asher, the eldest and the most rigid of the three, stood at the center of the room, his fingers gripped around a sacred staff topped with a radiant crystal. His brow furrowed as he read the reports sent from Sir Gideon. A cold fire flickered in his pale blue eyes. She has returned, he murmured, his voice laced with dread. Seraphine, the witch of the prophecy. Beside him, Cardinal Alara looked up from her scrolls, her sharp features shadowed by the weight of knowledge. Alara was the youngest of the triumvirate, but her powers of foresight had earned her respect and fear among the Order's ranks. She had been tracking Seraphine's every movement, sensing the stirrings of magic far beyond mortal comprehension. The time is near, Alara said, her voice steady but filled with forewarning. The relic, the Ember Heart, has been awakened. And her bond to the demon is growing stronger. We must act swiftly before the veil between realms tears apart. Cardinal Yoron, a towering figure with a deep, commanding voice, spoke next. He was the most pragmatic, an expert in battle strategy. His eyes gleamed as he addressed his fellow cardinals. We send more Sunsorn knights to intercept them. This time, we don't hesitate. His hand clenched around his sword hilt. She must die before the prophecy is fulfilled. The tension in the room crackled. Asher's eyes narrowed as he scanned the reports again. No, she will not die so easily. The prophecy warns of a rising goddess. Her bloodline is too powerful to destroy with mere weapons. Alara's gaze flickered to the ancient stone mural on the wall, depicting Solon's celestial reign over light and dark. Her eyes hardened. But it also says, a prince forged of lust will be her anchor. She shuddered, as though the words themselves caused her discomfort. The demon, Malachai, the one bound to her. Yoron sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. A demon prince, a creature of sin and fire. How could the gods allow such a thing? Alara stepped forward, her voice low and ominous. Not everything is as it seems. This is no ordinary demon. Malachai, he's tied to the old prophecies too. He could be her salvation or her destruction. Asher raised his hand, silencing the room. Then we have no choice. The triumvirate must act. We will seal Seraphine's power before it consumes us all. Seraphine's past. Whispers of ash. While the triumvirate prepared for their war, Seraphine sat alone in the moonlit clearing near the ruins of her coven, cradling the Ember Heart in her hands. Its heat seared into her skin, and she could feel it whispering to her, calling her to remember. Her mind wandered back to a time before the flames, to the life she had once known. As a child, Seraphine had been raised among the Coven, a sisterhood of powerful witches who had worshipped the moon goddess Nyxara, the forgotten goddess of twilight. Nyxara, neither fully light nor fully dark, represented the balance of all things, chaos and order, love and destruction. She had gifted her followers with immense powers, drawn from the liminal space between worlds. Seraphine was no ordinary witch. She had been born with a rare and potent bloodline, the last of Nyxara's descendants, marked by the goddess's symbol. The crescent moon intertwined with a serpent. Her mother had often whispered of this, but Seraphine had never fully understood it. Not until it was too late. On the night of her 16th birthday, during a ritual under the blood moon, the Order of Viral had attacked. They came like a storm, holy knights, priests, and inquisitors, their blades bright with celestial light. They had burned the coven to the ground, slaughtering her sisters and condemning their magic. Seraphine's mother, the high priestess, had given her the Ember Heart just before her death, an ancient relic that could unleash untold power but also curse its bearer. She had whispered one final command into Seraphine's ear, the heart will find you when you are ready. But be careful, my daughter. You are the harbinger of both destruction and salvation. Never forget who you are. Since that night, Seraphine had wandered the realms in hiding, hunted by the Order for the bloodline she carried. But with the Ember Heart now in her hands, everything had changed. She wasn't just a survivor. She was the key to the prophecy. But what would it mean to embrace her fate? To embrace Malachai? She closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of his presence even from afar. He was dangerous, yes. He was a demon, bound to her in a way that defied every natural law. But with him, Seraphine felt power like never before. The kind of power that could bring down the gods themselves. She could feel the tide of destiny rising. The prophecy was no longer something distant. It was something real. Something that could tear the world apart. And Seraphine had no choice but to walk its path. Chapter 6. The Flame Between Us. Night draped the ruined forest in shadows, but the ember heart glowed softly beside the fire, casting flickers of light across the stone walls of the old sanctuary. Malachai stood at the edge of the clearing, wings tucked, shirt undone, his silhouette limned in gold from the dying flames. Seraphine watched him from the makeshift bedding of velvet and moss, her pulse thudding in rhythm with the relic's heat. She had meant to meditate, to reach for visions, but all she could focus on was him. He felt it too. She knew by the way his jaw clenched when she shifted, the way his eyes flicked toward her with something half wild, half reverent. A prince of wrath, yes. But there was something more beneath that sharp grin and the echo of sin in his voice. Something fragile. Are you going to keep staring? He said at last, his voice low, teasing. Would it make you nervous? She replied, arching a brow. He turned, slow and deliberate, and began walking toward her. His boots crunched on the scattered stone, and his wings unfurled behind him, dark and soft like velvet shadows. When he stopped before her, he knelt, lowering himself like he was approaching a queen, not a witch. Nothing about you makes me nervous, Seraphine, he murmured. But everything about you makes me burn. His hand reached out, calloused fingertips brushing a strand of her raven black hair from her cheek. She let him. Goddess, she wanted him. But you're a demon, she whispered, and I'm not supposed to want this. He leaned in, his lips close enough to ghost over hers. And yet, here we are. The kiss was inevitable, like lightning drawn to storm clouds. His mouth was hot and possessive, his hands sliding into her hair as if anchoring himself to her. She gasped against him, threading her fingers beneath his shirt, feeling the ridges of muscle and the faint heat of hellfire that lived beneath his skin. But this wasn't just lust. When he kissed down her throat and whispered her name like a prayer, when he wrapped his wings around her like a cocoon of dark silk, Seraphine realized something deeper had taken root. The ember heart pulsed, reacting to their closeness, casting a red halo around them. Power surged between them, more ancient than any spell. She could feel his magic mingling with hers, blending. Their bond had become something living. Something binding. They broke apart only when the relic flared, sending a wave of heat over them. Malachai looked into her eyes, his voice ragged. This bond, it's changing us. Seraphine nodded, breathless. And we can't stop it now, can we? He smiled, not with menace, but with something achingly tender. Would you want to? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The fire between them had already answered for her. Chapter 8. Light breaks, shadow binds. The first clash shattered the sanctuary's stillness like glass. Sir Gideon's blade met Malachai's clawed hand midair, sparks flying in all directions. Divine steel screamed against demon-forged bone, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Seraphine stepped into the clearing with the ember heart hovering above her palm, her violet eyes burning with concentrated fury. You want fire, she hissed. Then burn. She flung the ember heart toward the nearest sunsorn knight. Its core flared crimson, and in a blast of searing heat, the knight was consumed in black flamed vines. He screamed, armor melting into his flesh, before collapsing into smoking ash. But more knights advanced. Gideon moved like holy vengeance incarnate. His sword radiated sanctified power, and every swing cut through spell and shadow alike. He raised his hand and called upon Solon's light, golden fire rained from the sky, forcing Seraphine to shield her face. Blasphemer, Gideon growled. Daughter of Nixara, you defy divine will. Malachai snarled beside her, wings stretched in full fury. She doesn't defy it, she balances it. With a roar, he hurled himself into the knights, conjuring a spear of obsidian flame. He drove it through a shield, then dragged another into the air before slamming him down with bone-shattering force. Above, the sky churned, Solon's light battling the rising blood moon. Seraphine raised both arms, the ground splitting beneath her. I am the daughter of dusk and ash. She cried. I don't bow to gods of fire or light. Arcane serpents surged from the cracked ground, slithering across the battlefield and ensnaring the sunsorn. Magic sang in her blood, growing wilder, more alive. Then she heard him, not with her ears, but in her mind. Let me in, Malachai said. Link with me, fully. What happens if I do? We become one. She didn't hesitate. She reached for him, soul to soul. Their bond ignited. Her aura exploded outward, merging with Malachai's, witchfire and hellflame entwined, dusk and void entwined. The battlefield twisted in response. Trees split. Stone melted. Sunsorn knights were hurled back like dolls. Gideon dropped to one knee, shielding his eyes. What are you? Seraphine now floated above the ruins, hair lifted by magic-charged air. Her voice rang like a bell of judgment and prophecy. I am what your gods feared you would never see again. She and Malachai unleashed a final storm of joined power. Light and shadow, wrath and will. When the smoke cleared, only Gideon remained, bloodied and stunned. Seraphine dropped to her knees, barely conscious, and Malachai caught her in his arms. You did it, he whispered. We did. She looked at the ember heart, no longer red, but glowing violet. No, she murmured. This was only the beginning. Chapter 9. A darker force awakening. The moon hung low, veiled in blood mist, casting a sickly glow over the obsidian plains of Wormreach. Seraphine stood at the edge of the ancient rift, violet eyes locked on the shadows pulsing from the depths. The air was cold, but the ground burned with a presence. Something long buried was waking. Malachai watched her warily. This place was sealed for a reason. I can feel it in the stone, something hungry lives here. It's calling to me, Seraphine whispered. It's old, older than the Order, older than the Triumvirate. A voice answered her. You're right. Gideon stepped from the gloom, his silver hair catching the cursed moonlight. His armor bore fresh cracks, dirtied by battle and grief. His blade, though, still glowed faintly. The Triumvirate lied, he said. They claimed the prophecy was about saving the realms. But the truth is, they feared what you would awaken. Malachai stiffened. You followed us here. No, Gideon replied, calm and hollow. I was led, just as you were. The Emberheart doesn't just unlock magic, it reveals destiny. And that rift is your inheritance. Seraphine turned toward the abyss. Symbols blazed to life around the rim of the rift, glyphs in a language her blood remembered. The magic reached for her like a lover. The ground shook. A shriek shattered the silence. The rift tore open. A figure rose from the chasm, half-formed, crowned in void thorns. Its body was smoke and bone, its voice 1,000 screams. The Devourer, Gideon breathed. One of the first fallen. A god killer. Malachai stepped forward, hands blazing. Then we kill it before it finishes forming. The Devourer lunged. Malachai intercepted, clashing midair, sparks of infernal and void energy exploding with every strike. Gideon leapt beside them, wielding divine light like a sword of judgment. But the beast was unstoppable. Seraphine knew what she had to do. She raised the Emberheart, already glowing with unnatural heat. I can seal it, but I need both of you. Malachai landed beside her, blood on his cheek. You'll die. Not if you hold me together. He nodded, and reached for her hand. Gideon hesitated, then joined them, his light merging with her shadow. She spoke the spell, ancient, forbidden, final. The sky split open. Magic raged. A storm of light and dark engulfed the rift, the Devourer's scream echoing through all realms. Then, silence. The rift sealed. Seraphine collapsed, caught once again in Malachai's arms. Her skin glowed faintly, marked with the runes of prophecy. She was changing. Gideon stood back, sword sheathed, eyes filled with awe and dread. This wasn't a victory, he said. This was a summons. That thing was a herald. Seraphine's eyes opened, aglow with something not entirely mortal. Then let the darkness come, she whispered. I'm done running.